So, Mandy, first of all, you look amazing today.
Thank you, you too.
I am. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to chat with you for a brief moment.
Likewise.
So, in season 2, you played the role of Bonita,
Yes.
a journalist that falls in love, basically, with
Yes.
Dr. Paulo. What did it take for you to tap into your character role the way in which you did, and to, really lay into the entire concept of this series?
Yeah, I mean, what's different about this season 2, it's an anthology, and so it follows a completely different doctor, a completely different story, and I play an investigative journalist who sort of abandons her ethical boundaries and ends up embarking on a relationship and falling in love with the source that she was doing a story on, which was Dr. Paolo Macchiarini, and her life sort of unravels from there. It was definitely dark subject matter to get in the headspace for, but obviously what's interesting about this particular season is the duality between his personal life and his professional life, and how they sort of like melded together. He was as duplicitous and deceitful and manipulative to his partner in life as he was to his patients and doctors and sort of medical establishments. So it's pretty harrowing stuff. But I also had my whole family with me in New York where we were shooting. I had a 6-week-old baby, so I got to just be mom and really like hang up my hat at the end of the day and say, okay, I'm leaving work here and I'm going to go home and be mom. And that actually oddly made it a little bit easier to leave work at the door.
I love the fact that you tapped into, the doctor basically intermixing personal with professional.
Yeah.
You did as well,
Yeah.
right? As
Yeah,
a
yeah.
journalist, like
Yeah.
capturing his heart,
Yes.
falling in love with him,
Yeah.
all of the things.
Yeah.
Like, how difficult was it for you to mesh the two so very well together in the character role?
I mean, I feel like it was... It's challenging. I mean, it's not challenging to pretend to fall in love with Édgar Ramírez, who played Paulo, but yeah, I mean, to know on its surface, it sounds ridiculous when a character promises you, we're going to get married and the Pope is going to officiate our wedding. Like, on the surface, that seems so implausible, but when someone is a master manipulator and they slowly plant those seeds over time, it is somewhat believable, and they prey on people's insecurities and vulnerabilities, and that's exactly what he did with my character. She was in a particularly vulnerable season of her life, and he managed to sort of find his way in, and her life sort of unraveled from there. And it was difficult to sort of like sit back and watch that happen, to know that all of the red flags were there and not be able to sort of stop the train.
And clearly you've worked on countless projects over the trajectory of your entire acting career. What exactly did you learn working on this project that you have yet to learn with any other that taken on throughout your careor?
That's challenging. I mean, I feel like there's always something to learn. There's always a balance. I think the personal and professional sort of trying to juggle being a parent and working was a new one for me. I mean, I went back to work on This Is Us with my older guy when he was a month old, but it was an ensemble, and we had a couple of months, and then we had a nice little break, and this was just like full on with a 6-week-old newborn and sort of jumping back and forth. Recognizing, like, having grace for myself, that like I had the capacity to do a little bit of everything, but not put too much pressure on myself. Yeah.
I love you. You did such an amazing job. Such a pleasure chatting with you.
Nice to chat with you too. Happy holidays.
Nice to meet you. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Édgar, so you definitely had pretty huge shoes to fill as Dr. Paulo. In what ways did you prepare for your role, and were you familiar with his story prior to saying yes?
No, I wasn't. I said yes to the script. I said yes to the project, to what our great showrunner Ashley Michel Hoban offered to me, and what my directors Laura and Jennifer. Their vision, what they wanted to tell, that was exactly what was what attracted me to the project.
Absolutely. And what would you say was the most unique part of, this entire series, aside from the fact that they were real life events and, his real life story?
I think that the most interesting aspect is the love story at the center of the piece. I think that's what makes this so tense and so intense, both at the same time, because it's almost like the audience will fall in love along with these characters on a train that is heading straight to crash. So that I think creates a very interesting tension that adds to the tension and to the tragedy that all these families lived because of the actions of this character.
Well, thank you so much, Édgar. Thank you. Thank you. So talk to me about season 2 of this project. Like, what has it been like for you to have your hands into this particular series?
Well, I'm from Sweden, so I could totally relate to the material. Actually been at this hospital, at the same hospital ward when this doctor was there. Yeah, I'm so happy I had problems not on the throat, a little bit higher up. Otherwise I wouldn't be standing here in this interview. And now, actually, honestly, this showrunner, she is the reason for all of the success in this show, because she was, she had everything. She was a professional, and she also opened the door to all the actors, and let us all in. And you were asking me questions about Sweden sometime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was our unofficial Swedish translator / Swedish tech person, because I'm from Cleveland and I don't know anything about Swedish. But honestly, they all came in. This is not an easy story to tell. There's a lot of nuance and there's a lot of. Especially with these characters, we're talking about complicity in Dr. Death's journey. So these guys really took it and just really just did more than we could ever have hoped, and delivered some of the most nuanced performances I've ever seen. So
were there like a lot of roadblocks and hurdles that you had to kind of climb over to perfect this masterpiece?
Ooh, masterpiece, I like
roadblocks.
That.
Can you say it a little bit louder? I just heard masterpiece. But,
any particular hurdles or roadblocks that you had to, climb over to perfect it? Talk to me about some of them.
Everything. For me, actually, one of the hurdles is the difficult English language for all the medical terms. Yeah, epithelium in animals and stuff like that.
You still got it.
Yeah.
You still got it. Epithelium in animals.
That's epithelium in animals. Yeah.
You know what? It's not a coincidence that you just brought up the medical terminology aspect of it, because I honestly was going to ask, what was that learning curve like, for you? Like, not only learning and becoming familiar with these medical terms, but being able to properly pronounce them.
Yeah, that's a big problem for me, because I'm not English. Yeah, but also the whole medical, I guess I have to just, work with it a little bit more. And Ashley Michel was there all the time, so I could ask her how to pronounce things.
Sometimes it wasn't even medical terms that Gustaf needed help with. It was just regular English he needed help with. Just kidding.
Hello, how are you?
We got that.
Yeah.
It worked out.
No, but in this kind of thing, there's a lot of medical, the whole medical, I had to perform surgery on rats, and that wasn't really, we went to real surgery and I practiced stitching and stuff like that. Then I just realized, I'm gonna do stitching a trachea in a rat. But we had so much help, professionals and medical people,
medical techs
and Ashley Michel all the time. Yeah.
It was fun.
And before I let the both of you go, in what way will you always remember this particular project in series? Like, just one way.
One way.
For me, it's the people. The casting crew. This was. I don't think you always get what we had. The kind of magic between the actors and the joy of the crew, and this is production is hard. So this was a dream come true. So that's what I take away from it, is the people that I hope to continue to work with forever. I'm going to write a spin-off for Gustaf and Whistleblowers, solving crimes.
Yeah. The Anders Svensson laboratory. No, you don't want to go there. No, the people. But I'm going to have to say Ashley Michel Hoban. You give me the money after, right?
Yeah, it's $5 every time he drops my name.
Yeah. So, Ashley Michel Hoban, Ashley Michel Hoban.
Ooh, you can.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it. Yeah, I've got children.
I just love this dialogue, this dialect, and this relationship. It was such a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. So you're one of the amazing directors behind the scenes of this astounding, limited series. What has this journey been like for you on the back end as a director, bringing this real life story and these real life events,
It's been extraordinary, and the fact that this is a real life story, and trying to understand these characters has been utterly fascinating, because it happened, and it's really hard sometimes to wrap your head around it. But these are human beings, and as a director, I'm fascinated in just human beings, and this story is profoundly fascinating. Like Paolo and the web of lies that he was able to create, and how he was able to fool a super intelligent, accomplished woman, and the entire medical community is mind-boggling. And so I've loved working on this project. It's been just truly extraordinary.
Take me back to the beginning. Prior to working on this project and taking it on scene, yes, were you familiar with Dr. Paolo's story?
No, I listened to the podcast and was blown away. So when I heard about the project, I of course listened to the podcast and just was riveted. And again, the mysteries of the human mind is endlessly fascinating. And I don't think there was not 1 second that I was ever bored, because the depth of this story and also how Ashley Michel Hoban constructed it was utterly brilliant. So it was really a very profound experience.
It makes me want to ask, how does this particular series measure up to other projects that you've worked on in your previous life?
Honestly, it's been one of my favorite projects ever.
I was going to ask, would you say that this is going to absolutely be one of the most memorable, projects that you've taken on?
Without a doubt, it's been one of the most memorable projects that I've taken on.
And I want to make the pivot back to the podcast and obviously the story in general, the documentary. In what ways would you say the series differs from the real life events? If there is any type of difference between, the true story and what we get in season 2?
I think the story sticks very close to the real story. I think that, yes, certain things were slightly modified, but the essence is there. And the essence is, again, human beings are really complicated and amazing. So, I feel very lucky to be part of this.
Thank you so much. It was nice chatting with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Luke, so let's talk about it. I have to ask you first and foremost, in what ways did you become one with this entire series and also your character role? What did it take for you to really, really tap into it? Not only tap into it, but live in it and do a damn good job.
I mean, I felt a great deal of compassion, already for my mother, is a medical practitioner and sort of was, and I myself have had a lot of experience with hospitals and, illness and that kind of thing. And so just that world meant a lot to me and kind of accessed my heart very sort of easily. So, that was a kind of a way in, I think, initially. I mean, also just listening to the podcast helped to compel me into this sort of juicy, creepy, weird, baffling story of a man, but also the story of like people standing up, in the face of very powerful institutions to, try and get the truth out into the world,
How were you, or if you even did this, if you tackled your role in this way, how were you able to separate your opinions, your thoughts, your emotions, and your feelings about Dr. Paolo's entire story, and also the role in which you took on?
I mean, thankfully, my, Gamelli is sort of, blows his top when he needs to. So I was able to kind of just lean into that. I mean, he expresses himself. It's it's not the best straight for him. It gets him into a lot of trouble. It impacts his professional life. It impacts his love life, his social life. So, but it was there for me to kind of to get it off my chest. So it was very satisfying.
And I believe up until recently, June, Dr. Palo, was sentenced, if I'm not mistaken, to a little over 2 years in prison. However, he was, acquitted of 2 manslaughter cases. Okay.
Yeah.
Your personal thoughts on justice. Do you feel like in Dr. Palo's, case that justice truly was served?
I don't have a strong. I don't know. It's. We look to the justice system to as a means of punishment, but also hopefully as a means of rehabilitation. I mean, I think that part, we salivate over the potential for punishment, and I can understand why, because, in these painful situations, we yearn for comeuppance. I don't know that our appetite for that can ever be sated. That really, I kind of think ultimately the hope is that rehabilitation is possible, and that's very tricky and complicated. So, yeah, I know that's kind of not a great answer, but.
No, I get it. But before I let you go, in what ways would you say that this particular project has impacted your life for the long run?
I mean, I made great friends in Gustaf and Ashley Michel and Ashley Michel Hoban, and I felt a great kind of ease and camaraderie with them that has followed through the experience. I also have in my sort of research of the medical practice, I really increased my appreciation for the science of medicine, the importance of peer review, of the long course of science. And it really made me appreciate the kind of the longer arc of that exercise of trying to heal people. I mean, we're pushing the needle forward all the time, I think. So, and I am grateful for that because I know I'm not doing it. So.
Well, Luke, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Really nice talking to you.
First of all, I love your dress. I wish it were my size because I would totally switch outfits with you right now. If you could describe working on this project in 3 ways, what would you describe this particular experience like in 3 words?
Fun, exciting, and emotional. It was emotional to leave the set because I was there for like 2.5 months. And I really felt like a New Yorker because we were filming in Brooklyn, New York. And everybody was so kind to me. Like, I felt like I was home.
What would you say was the most fun part of this role?
I feel like the most fun part was getting to, like, have little convos with, like, all of, like, Mandy and, Édgar. And, like, we would play some games sometimes. Like, I would even play with, whatchamacallit? The people on set, like I would play like games with them, and then we would like play like bubblegum. I don't know if you know bubblegum, but it's like bubblegum, yeah. It's awesome.
And what's next for you after this project? Are you currently working on anything else right now? Any other movies, series?
I just finished working on Lioness. Well, I didn't really finish it, but it's out, so you can watch it. It's on Paramount Plus. Lioness, make sure to check it out because I'm Zoe Saldana's daughter. Yeah,
I have to ask you before I let you go, is it difficult for you to balance everyday life, friendships, being a child of your age and also being an actor with schoolwork? Is it difficult for you to juggle all of those balls?
For school, I have a set teacher and my school switches me to online. Learning, so I get to work on set, but then whenever I don't have anything going on, I get to do soccer and volleyball. I actually got to try volleyball during the strike So it was like a little fun break for me. And I also got to go to school, so that was also pretty cool.
Thank you so much. And I love the dress. Dominic, so it is such a pleasure to stand before you today. I want to take things back to season 1. You played the role of Jerry.
I did.
First things first, what in the heck made you let him do surgery on you?
Oh my
Although
gosh.
Dr. Dush was your BFF, he definitely was your best friend. But in episode 6, like, what made you do it?
I know, when it's a true life show, you follow the events of real life, and it's a question I have for myself as an actor. I think Jerry was so trusting and so in awe of his friend, and he really believed that he was a good doctor, and so in his mind, whatever doubts there might have been back there, I think his love for his friend just superseded that, and it led to a tragedy for him. And while we were actually filming the scenes of me in the hospital playing Jerry, Jerry actually passed away while we were filming those scenes. So it had a tragic outcome. Yeah.
So that's very interesting, hearing that Jerry passed away, like, in the midst of filming and working on this project. That leads me to ask, what type of impact did this series have on your life, just in general, especially hearing that the character role that you portrayed in real life, in retrospect, it came to an end for him?
I think it's one of the only times that I have played a character based on someone in real life who's still alive. And so going into that project, it was, dealing with the subject delicately because you want to portray them. I certainly wanted to portray Jerry in a positive light because he was lively and ebullient and friendly, and he was the life of the party. And then sympathizing with his decision to go under the knife and not questioning that, and honoring that. I never approached him to ask about what happened to him because I didn't feel like that was my place to delve into something so deep like that. But yeah, a fascinating guy, and by all accounts a really wonderful, warm, lovely guy.
You did such a fascinating job playing this character. I think in real life, what are your takeaways, from this real life story of Dr. Christopher Dush? And honestly, prior to tapping into this project, were you already familiar with his story?
No, I wasn't familiar with the story. Actually, when I got the audition, then I did, I do a deep dive, and then when I got cast, I did an even deeper dive. And I guess the takeaway from it is, it sounds really light and trite, but get a second opinion. There are good doctors, there are bad doctors, there are good lawyers, there are bad lawyers, there are good, in every walks of life, in every profession. And, you're placing your trust in people. And so I guess coming out of it is not to be more skeptical, but, do your homework, do your research, because your life is literally in these people's hands.
Absolutely. It was such a pleasure talking with you.
Cheers.
Thank you so much. First of all, Adina, congratulations on your recent Indie Spirit Award nomination. How were you feeling about that?
I'm beyond proud, it's so fantastic to work in this business and then to get recognized for one's work. You can't ask for anything more than that. And I'm with an amazing crew of actors, so I'm beyond grateful to be included.
I love it. So you have to tell me, what brings you out to the season 2 premiere of Dr. Death today?
Well, I love a mystery, so I look forward to seeing this. I also love a party, and the strike was long and hard, so I am beyond grateful to be able to get dressed up and be among people some folks I've worked with before, and to then see new people's work. So yeah,
this is another 100% human production, so I'm ready to support.
Let me ask you, so if you were not on the big screen, what do you think or not even think, what would you be doing right now? Like, would you be a nurse, a hairstylist, a doctor? Like,
I would try to be a therapist. I love figuring out why people do what they do, and then also kind of changing behavior. So if I would be able to study enough to be able to get the degrees that one needs to get, I would love to be a therapist. Yeah.
and what's next up for you? Do you have your hands in any special projects that you can share with me today?
I can't share it because I signed a whole bunch of papers saying that
I didn't think so. I didn't think so.
But do keep your ears and eyes peeled. I do have another project in which I got a completely different character than the woman I played on The Changeling. So I'm beyond grateful for the versatility, but I hope we get a season 2 as well.
Fingers crossed for that season 2. Such a pleasure. Good luck with that. Yes, good luck at the end.